Welcome back to the Stormcrow Show. I'm Brady.
And I'm Josh. And today we are going to be discussing, we'll do a quick recap on Episode 7 of Volume 5 of RWBY, and then also discussing Episode 8.
That sounds like a plan.
With also some, and also some theories, or discussion points that we just want to point out. I can't think of anything else important to say.
Okay. That's great, because I will go ahead with our recap then for Episode 7 of Volume 5.
Good.
So, in this episode, that I honestly can't remember the title of it, just off the top of my head, this episode spent a lot of time recapping what was previously going on in Volumes 3 and 4. Yeah. Or, well, actually, mostly Volume 4. Because it was kind of the time when most of Team RWBY got back together and, you know, they were sharing stories about what happened. And most of the stories come from Volume 4.
True, when they're separated.
Yeah, so anyways, though, they spend a great deal of time doing that. Mm-hmm. And then the second point that's covered is, you know, Crow gets all like, wow, you kids are just being so loud. Now we got to have a serious discussion because that'll calm me right down. And basically, during that discussion, Ozpin, embodying Oscar, says, well, he tells them that he gave his magical powers to the original four maidens, which, you know, Josh and I were kind of suspecting, and, you know, we did a theory video on that a while ago, and we kind of touched on that 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, so that really felt good that Josh and I nailed it. And then the other thing they recapped was the fact that Ozpin, again, using his magical powers, turned Raven and Crow, or allowed them to turn themselves into birds.
Yep.
Which was kind of interesting. I mean, I feel like Josh and I were you and I were both kind of suspecting something along these lines. Like, we didn't know it was from Ozpin. But we were already kind of aware that this was Raven and Crow and that they were turning themselves into birds.
We kind of knew Crow from even the end of of Season 3 because he had the little exit, as well as Season 4,
where right when he was arriving to fight Tyrion.
Right. What we didn't know, of course, is that Raven could as well. Again, we kind of covered that even
So this episode didn't really seem like there was a lot of new information, or at least information that was, you know, it just wasn't brand new information.
True.
I mean, it did clarify a few points.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was kind of cool that they went with the two birds because, you know, we know that that's kind of loosely based on the idea of, Odin with...
kind of suggestive there.
Yeah, the two birds to, you know, be kind of his seeing eyes.
Right.
So that was kind of a nice play.
Yeah.
And beyond that, there's just not a lot to talk about for that episode.
Well, on that point, let me just, before I get to Episode 8 then, just want to ask you this question. As of this time, Episode 9 is up on, it's not up on YouTube yet, but it is on Rooster Teeth's website.
Yep.
And historically, they've done 12 episodes per season, except for Season 1, which had 16, but that was a lot of shorter episodes.
Yep.
So the question is, are there going to be more episodes? Because we're not even through December. I mean, theoretically, if they go at the pace they're going, Episode 12 will be either, you know, New Year's or a little bit after that or something. Even if they skip for the Christmas and New Year's, you know, they'll... what I'm trying to say is, do you think we're getting more episodes? Do you think, or what are your thoughts there?
I mean, I'm at this point, just the way this season is progressing, I would expect that there would be more episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to be seeing something a little more like 13, 14, 15 episodes.
Okay.
You know, it's going to be interesting because that means that this season is going to be the longest season yet in terms of like just sheer minutes.
Sure.
Because as you mentioned, season 1 had 16 episodes, but some of those episodes were only 6-7 minutes long.
Right.
So it's possible.
I haven't seen anything. I don't recall if they said how many episodes there were. I tried to find it online, but couldn't confirm how many there were supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I kind of hope it's a little bit longer just because... And actually, I'm glad you brought this up because this reminded me of one thing I did want to mention.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that, this season has kind of actually drawn a little bit of heat from its fan base.
Okay.
Because after Volume 4 and now Volume 5, it doesn't really feel like the story has progressed very much since Volume 3. Volume 3 was really it was the climax that Volumes 1 and 2 were building up to.
Right.
But now it's Volumes 4 and 5. It's not a lot has actually happened in those 2 seasons so far. And I know some people are getting actually a little bit frustrated.
Yeah.
And I would just say, admittedly, I would like to see the show progress more. Yeah. And, I feel like they are kind of dragging their feet a little bit.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, from what we know, the creator, Monty
I'm not sure. I think it was
Yeah.
Before he died.
Before he passed away, he did have through Volume 5 planned out. But the fact is that now it's okay, even though some of the writers have been with the show since the beginning,
yeah,
they have to figure out how the show is going to progress.
Right.
So that might explain why Volumes 4 and 5 are dragging a little bit more,
sure,
because they're just trying to figure out what direction they're supposed to go.
Right.
And, that, I guess I would rather have them do that than, just rush it and end up making something that's extremely half-baked.
Right. No, I agree. But yeah, they are. It's even moving slower, I think, than Season 4 in some ways, because a lot of Season 4 was a lot of background stories that you found out about the characters as they're dealing with their trauma. You found out more about Weiss's family, for example, in Season 4, as well as Blake's. In fact, you don't even realize what Blake's family is like until you find out that she comes from, theoretically, the most stable of homes.
Yeah, and also the background of Ren and Nora.
Ren and Nora's story, right.
Like how they met up and stuff.
Right.
So, but anyways, sorry, not to go on a tangent there, but
sure.
I did feel like it was worth mentioning that, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it would be nice to see a little more action, or at least progress the story. Going on to episode 8, basically you can divide it really into 2 parts. There's the part where they have RWBY, Yang, and Weiss over in Haven Academy, or Mistral, I should say, and basically they're missing the fact that Blake isn't around, and Yang is still pretty bitter about it, in fact, and she expresses ultimately to Weiss that, or to the others, that she's just struggling because her mom, her biological mother, Raven, left her literally. Summer Rose died, so that kind of left her again. And so Yang has had has his close friendships with people, and then Blake just leaves. And so Yang is just kind of, doesn't... In fact, that's probably why she's so strong about following RWBY, is that she won't abandon RWBY. That's her... she can't afford... She doesn't want to be like those other people that have seemingly abandoned her. And Weiss really was... I really appreciated Weiss's comments. Weiss was very honest and open about her struggles and what she went through. And also the fact that she kind of talked some sense into Yang and just explained, do you think Blake left just because it was, for selfish reasons? Or, think about why she probably did. And so I really thought that was important, that it's going to help Yang maybe to think through. I'm not saying what Blake did was okay. I think she probably panicked a little. She's leaving because she didn't want to endanger her friends. That's basically what it boiled down to. But even then, Sun had to knock that sense into her. And it's just that sort of, that weird tension. So that's kind of the first half. The second half is, as we know, Corsic and Finnick, I don't remember how to pronounce it. Those 2 Fox dudes, intend to, of course, assassinate the Belladonnas, or specific per Adam's request. or I should say demand.
Yeah.
And Ilya is in charge of luring Blake away, which she does. And Blake gets captured by several Faunus. And you kind of see, I mean, how do I say this? You begin to understand how bad the situation is with the White Fang. You have Corsican Finnick who are very pragmatic, right? I mean, at one point, I think in episode 7 or something, they're like, you know, Adam's our leader for now,
Yeah.
Even though he seems a bit unstable. And then, or maybe that was episode 5, I forget. And then you have Adam, who is got this personal vendetta against Blake. And then Ilya reveals that she has this personal vendetta against Blake as well, because she's like, well, I mean, you really had eyes for Adam, and I wish you had eyes for me and stuff. And it's like, okay, whatever. But the thing is, ultimately, this is a really huge... There's a huge contrast here that they're showing. Blake is believing that it's like you're not supposed to hurt innocents. You're not supposed... that there's some right and wrong here that you're supposed to follow, and you're not supposed to go around hurting other people like this. And Ilya is just totally gone off on the deep end, where it's just about what's best for the Faunus, and it put best in quotes, because really it's just about their own personal selfish desires, really, right? I mean, is that a fair assessment? Was that a fair read?
Yeah. Well, it really does seem that, with the characters that have, with Adam and Ilya, it really does seem that now it's not really based on the overall needs for the Faunus.
Or it's not based on principle.
Exactly. It seems more... It's a personal vendetta, and that's what's holding them together, is the fact that their personal vendettas happen to be pointed at the same person. Or people.
That's how you keep an organization together and in good shape. I'm being sarcastic, in case you didn't figure that one out.
Don't worry, I caught that.
Oh, good. Yeah. Ultimately, Blake... Thankfully, I was really worried Blake was maybe going to be a little bit of a dunderhead, and she was actually going to ultimately be captured. But she apparently had made sure Sun would follow her in the shadows. Sun assists her in her escape. She punches someone's lights out. And, we're all good there. Well, not really. They run back, of course, to the Belladonna household. Sun is calling the police. Blake is calling her parents to warn them about the impending attack, which, of course, has started. And, I won't go into too much detail, but it feels a little intense at times.
Yeah.
You really feel for the Belladonnas, because they seem like it's not just any random person out there. It's like people you kind of feel like you really get attached to in the story, and they're these decent people out there.
Yeah. And
it's and in the end it just shows at Blake Gira Belladonna's his animal trait, if you will, with his claws popping out. Yep. He also apparently has a very deep roar. And so we're not going to spoil anything for episode 9, by the way. We will cover it at some point, I'm sure. But it's interesting that there's kind of this parallel where Yang is dealing with the fact that she's seeing, she's not worried about the mission. I think she kind of indicated in the episode 7, right? Like, I'm following Ruby. It's not because of something outside of that. And that's maybe a little more noble, but then you have like the twist on that, where you have really this warped sense of, like, with Ilya and Adam in particular, where they're supposedly doing the right thing, but no, they're gone way off the deep end now.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Any final thoughts?
No. I think that's pretty much all we have time for today. So, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Please like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.